If you've watched before, you've seen Snackle Pants before. She likes to be included in the tea talks. Tea time. She does not get any though. It makes her very upset that she can't join in. Okay, honey bun. You still want more, huh? Yeah. Yeah, you're cute. Quit being a prima donna. Okay. Welcome back, if Snookie allows it. Today we are going to be talking about types of teapots, at least the teapots that I own. There are many, many types of teapots, but these are usually the standards. First, I'm going to start off with my least favorite to brew with. And that would be standard ceramic with the metal strainer. I don't like using metal strainers usually because they can impart a metallic taste to your tea, especially if you're like brewing for a longer period of time. So good for beginners, I guess. Honestly, even beginners, I tell them to try to stay away from this because it kind of takes away from the tea. So it's a standard teapot. You're probably most used to seeing that style of teapot. Next is larger. Unless you're doing, like, have a bunch of people over, this is just excessive. Plus, and this is an older Tetsubin from Tivana. So I guarantee they don't even make this one anymore. But it's nice. It has a little fish on it, but also has a metal strainer in it, and I just try to stay away from that. Now I know they talk about how brewing in these vessels can help you replenish your iron, because tea can take iron from the body, and this kind of counteracts that, and I like that aspect of it. I just don't like that it's enameled for one in the inside, so you can't heat with it. But it's a glorious showpiece, and that's what it is. It's a very expensive showpiece for me, but I like how it had the warmer and everything to go with it. I'm being very careful because I do not want to drop this on my teaware. So that's my second least favorite to brew with. Now, I like brewing with all these. These are all fantastic. We're going to start off with what looks most familiar. Now, this is also ceramic. Lovely color. Got it from Music City Tea. No metal strainer. It's got little fish on it, and the cups actually have two of them in it. And they're all raised up like that three-dimensionally in the cup, so it looks like the fish are actually swimming in the tea. It's actually very, very, very cute. So this is standard ceramic. This is Chinese. And most Westerners are going to identify this as a normal teapot. This is good to brew any type of tea in. Some teas you're going to be using different pots, and I'll explain that later, and it actually enhances the flavor. This is great for any type of tea. Then we will go on to a Japanese teapot. This is purchased from Tezumi. This is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Shude clay, orange clay. It says to bring down the astringency of green teas. It's a gorgeous orangish color. Also built-in strainer. It doesn't have any metal in it, and it's fine, like a fine mesh strainer, especially with the Japanese teas. They can get a little bit finer, and they'll come right out of the larger hole. They call this a Kyutsu. And this is more Western style because it actually has the handle on the back, whereas the other ones do not. So this is made more towards a classical Western style. But it has the thin pour spout, and this actually pours really quickly and really accurately. This is actually a fantastic teapot. And it's very, very well made. Everything I've gotten from Tezumi is it just pours, and perfectly. But that is a Japanese style. And should look fairly familiar. As we go along, things are going to look a little more obscure and you might not know what they are. So now we're back to Chinese. When we get into Yizing. Now this is purple clay. This is actually a nice pot. This is from Path of Cha, which I tend to get teas from. I just started ordering more teas from Path of Cha because I actually ordered a few, and they're very decent for the price point and very crisp, very clean. But these pots, Yizing, will over time, when you brew with them, absorb the tea. They're porous, unglazed clay, so they'll actually absorb the flavor of tea over time. So you brew one type of tea, so these I use just for oolong. I have some that are pu'er, and I have I don't have one for green. That's not usually, but I have one for black right here, and I actually went with a gaiwan for a dark Yizing for the black teas. And I will get into gaiwans in a second. This is a fantastic pot that I got from Music City Tea. Awesome Yizing. Very, very well made. I haven't had a chance to use it though, because I'm waiting for a larger group. Because this is very big for a Yizing pot. Like if you're gong brewing with this is for many people. Like I could probably Western style brew with this very easily, but I am saving this for a special occasion. And this is not a cheap pot. Yizing, good Yizing, will be fairly expensive, especially handmade. And if it's purple clay, it will be very expensive. But this also has built-in mesh to kind of strain. I don't know if you can see that from that light angle. Yeah, it's hard to see, but it actually has it's like they poked little holes in it and then they actually attached the nozzle. I actually watched these being made. It's actually really interesting. If you can find a video of somebody hand making Yizing, it's actually really neat to watch, and the artisans are ridiculous. Okay, now let's go into, since we did Yizing, Hagi. This is Japanese pottery. I don't have a pot, but I have a couple cups. This is actually Rose's. I got her for, was it the anniversary? Rose? Was it your birthday? I got you as a gift, and I can't remember when now. For what? Valentine's Day. Yes, Valentine's Day is what I got this. This is also has a special glaze to it, to where it makes it porous, so this will eventually absorb tea as well. So basically it's similar to Yizing, but in a Japanese style. And I also love the flair, the Japanese flair of the cup, traditional style. That's a gorgeous cup. Hagi is fairly expensive, just like Yizing, especially if it's handmade. That's why I don't have any of the pots yet. I haven't had a pot or a tea that I would dedicate to one yet, because I love brewing green teas in my other vessels. So I have not purchased a pot yet, but I have two cups. One that's in a pink, beigeish pink, and then one white for me. No, that's not a brewing vessel, but to be inclusive, I wanted to include that. And they are slightly different looking than these. This is also a Kyusu. This is a more traditional, where the handle is actually roughly 90 degrees from the actual spout. And this is a fantastic little piece as well. All my Japanese teaware is from Tazumi. I haven't bought any from anywhere else because the quality of what they offer is amazing. I believe they actually go over there and handpick these out. And every piece I've had has been absolutely spectacular. The kiln firing, like just the textures and the colors are just gorgeous. They all pour really well. I usually tend to go for the fine mesh because I brew a lot of sencha and gyokuro green tea. and it's just, they're just amazing. So this is a smaller kyutsu. Now this is, I believe, considered a kyutsu as well, but this is flat. And this is specifically made to brew the teas that are, they're almost needle-like. They're steamed, they're long, and they unfurl flat. So you get a better infusion by using a flat vessel. Whereas Chinese teas tend to open up, these tend to unfurl flat. So Chinese tea will open up, so that's why you need a taller vessel usually for Chinese teas, like this. Whereas the Japanese style teas are typically flatter. I want to show what that I'm actually talking about when I got a sencha here, also from Tazumi. Great sencha at Tazumi. I actually have been branching out and trying different vendors' sencha. And this is a Tazumi varietal. Was relatively well priced, good flavor, good umami, good grassy note, slight vegetal, good brine. I will be actually brewing in shiboradashi, which is I will actually get into in a second. Yeah, shiboradashi. Hopefully I am saying that correctly, because I believe I had been saying it incorrectly for a while, and I actually looked up the pronunciation, and it's shibo. I was saying shiba. Shiboradashi. I speak very little Japanese, but I have actually learned some. I need to get back into it. I also want to learn some Mandarin and Cantonese as well, eventually. Okay, so teapot styles. Those are all the handled teapot styles that we have, or that I have, and that are traditionally used. Japanese teas, especially their greens, brew very differently from Chinese teas because of the steamed aspect. A lot of Chinese teas are pan-fried, so they brew differently. So now we'll go into Gaiwan. Gaiwan can either be used as a regular drinking cup or as a brewing vessel. I do have certain Gaiwans that I actually do use as drinking cups so I can keep my liquid warm. And this one I use a lot just because it's so ornamental. This one is actually from Path of Cha. This is amazing, ornate Gaiwan. Very well put together. Great characters on it. Even the saucer's great. I'm surprised the saucer isn't actually signed, but it is actually signed. It is actually hand painted. You can tell. And it sits very well. It's actually very well made. But you would take the tea, and I will go into a video on how to brew properly with a Gaiwan. You either pick it up with a saucer, which is, I actually just came into this technique and I actually prefer it because it's a lot harder to burn yourself while learning these, or even while doing them. But usually you would just pick it up from the rim. And the pressure from pressing on the rim and the top of the cup keeps it on. So you can actually brew just like that. Now this is I was talking about this earlier, this is actually being seasoned with black tea, and this is uncoated. This is actually this is ceramic, not a ceramic coated. I do have a ceramic coated one that I use for just everyday teas and everyday brewing. So that's Chinese Gaiwan. Yes, I believe that is Chinese style as well. I also have way more pots than I'm actually showing. I have dedicated Yijings. Actually, not way more, a couple more pots, I should say. I actually have more Gaiwans behind me. You probably can't see with the camera actually in the way. Good. Okay. I just recently organized, so if I look like I'm kind of lost for a second, that's why. Now I'm going to go through different types of shiboradashis. Now there's the cheaper version and the more expensive these are probably both handmade, but there's one main difference between these, and it's very significant. Actually, no, there's a couple of differences, actually, now that I think about it with these ones. The more expensive ones will not have a rim in here. So you can move this lid in any direction, inside, outside. So if you want a more aggressive pour, you would just give yourself a more aggressive space when you go to pour. Now you'll see this when I actually go to brew this. If you want a less aggressive pour, less space. This one has a rim. So the way that sits on there is the way that sits on there. You can prop it up, but it defeats the purpose of the second thing. This one has two little holes up front, and it has a built-in mesh on it, this is actually fairly convenient. And this one actually brews very well. Most of the time, they don't have that mesh strainer on them, and it's just these grooves at the front, and you'll have bits and pieces of actual tea leaf that comes through it, especially if you're not using a strainer. They're gonna be sitting at the bottom of your cup. But I like this one because it's ornate. I can brew bigger leaf teas in it, and if I want something small that I'm not gonna be drinking a gallon of tea with, this is great for brewing small amounts of sencha or gyokuro. Also, white tea it's actually good for, because white tea doesn't seem to expand as much. What you see is what you get with a white tea, and a lot of them. So I enjoy using that, and it's non-porous, so it won't absorb any of the actual flavors or aromas of the tea. With all my teaware, especially my more expensive, I usually use purified water, because usually distilled, because I actually have well water, so it actually will soak into it, and I want that tainting my actual teaware. Some of my pots I had bought had actually, you could see it started to build up the mineral or softener or whatever it was, because I was using a purified version of my well water. So if you are, at minimum, use like a really good RO, reverse osmosis water, distilled, or a trusted mineral water, so you don't mess with your teaware, and then you get the deposit taste, and it's not pleasant. So, shiboradashi, and this is cute, and these are all from Tazumi. Rose calls this her dinosaur cups. I call them the chicken feet, and I believe it's technically pine needle. They consider it a pine needle mark in Japan. I will be brewing with this some sencha from Tazumi. I forgot a couple more. These I will mention because this is very, very popular. This is matchaware. Chawan, which is the bowl. This is the ceremonial napkin. I cannot remember the names of these offhand, but these are also from Tazumi. Tazumi has so many good things in their store. This is a fine tine bamboo whisk. Don't get the cheap ones. Go for a thin, actual handmade one. They froth 10 times better. And get a good matcha bowl. This is actually one that came with the set that I originally bought. It's a beautiful piece. It's almost a crazy cracked glaze almost. I don't think this is porous, and this is a white slipped handmade one, which is gorgeous. I love this one. This is probably my favorite one. It's just the color of it. It's really cool. It's got a slight, I think they call it wabi-sabi to it. Amazing. Yeah, don't go for a cheap whisk. If you're going to do matcha, get a good handmade one. Tazumi has quite a few options on whisks, and get something that will keep your form as well on those, because the tines will change form when they heat. And yeah, this came with the set as well. So it was this, the whisk, and the bowl, not the actual stand that came with it. And then it came with 3 different types of matcha, and it was relatively well priced. I think it was around $90 or $100, which for good matcha and a good set like this is well worth it. I wanted to mention this though as well. I don't usually drink matcha that much. When it gets pricey, and I tend to drink a lot of tea. And also, you'll need a sifter and a strainer if you actually are doing matcha. This, I believe, yeah, this came with the set as well. And these are fantastic too. These you can buy, I believe, just single piece off of Tazumi. They're good for even straining tea. They're very fine mesh. They're very, very solid. I've had this one for probably a little over 2 years, and I mean, it looks brand new. I mean, you can't tell the difference. It doesn't corrode. It's a good, high quality stainless steel. I also recommend you get yourself a set of tea tools. If you're going to do any type of brewing, get yourself a set of these. They're so cheap. I mean, Music City Tea, I think, has a set of these for which it comes with. This is actually to put tea into the pot. This is to remove tea leaves. Which one came with this set? I believe it was this one. This one will help you scoop tea into the actual pot, and the tip is actually for cleaning out the spout of the teapot. And it also came with, yeah, so it was these 4, I believe, and this is a $10 set. And the little tongs are nice because you can either use them to rinse the cups, which I will get into actually tea brewing with Chinese, or you can actually use it to hold the nozzle on, or the little knob if the teapot's getting hot. So you'd have the handle, and this would be on the other side, and you would just basically pour. So if you do have a teapot that tends to get hot on top, you can use this to hold it down so the lid doesn't fly off on you. Well, I have a couple little sets, obviously. Okay. Now with my Japanese teas, especially the greens, I tend to measure out to the gram because more or less, especially at higher temperatures, can make a very, very big difference. Even the slightest amount can make a large difference. So for this, I think this is about an 80 milliliter. I will use about a 1.5 grams probably would be good for this one. Even a 1 gram. I'm going to go 1 gram just so Rose can palate it a little bit better because she's still getting used to green teas. So these are also from Tazumi, these canisters. I get them from multiple places, but these are nice because they have a nice paper overlay on them, and they actually lock. Whereas most of them will just continue to spin. Once this hits the point where the actual pattern hits, it'll lock into the pattern, which, I mean, it's very aesthetically pleasing. It's not something you need, but if you have like an OCD with patterns, this is definitely something you want to get. And I don't have any OCD at all. Neither does Rose. You hear her snorting behind the camera. So, a little more than I wanted. So we'll siphon some of that off. And this is a nice little ceramic chahe. I prefer my bamboo, but this actually shows off color really well. So that's 2 grams. It's a little bit heavy, but we'll go with that. And you live in Ohio, these are for tea only. And if you work with me, they're definitely for tea only. And yes, I only use those for tea. Okay. I have a mime across the table from me. That is, I'd actually have to look up what sencha that actually is.
Can you make it to where it's kind of hey. Perfect.
So let me, I use the shop app for a lot of my shopping for tea. Fantastic app. I use it all the time. I need to go into my orders and actually tell you what type of tea and the price point. No, that's not it.
Do you want to start?
This is Honyama Koshun Sencha. This is $20 for... I'm going to have to go to the site to give you an actual gram count. Give me 1 second. 50 grams for 20 bucks. Single origin. It says signature aroma of wildflowers. Very responsive to changes in brewing temperature, even compared to other senchas. It says sweetness, light umami, heavy aroma, light astringency, almost no bitterness. Harvested 2024 in May, 150 meters, handheld. Now let's see what the parameters it says. Yep, 2 grams for 50. Yeah, so I was about right. 167 degrees. So let's see. I have 158, so let's go with that. It says 60 seconds, so we'll go slightly longer than 60 seconds. For some reason, my tea is beeping at me, and it's not done. There we go. I don't know if you can see that, but that's who produces this tea. You can find all this information on Tazumi's website. So Honyama, and I've actually had teas from this producer and his Wakocha. It's fantastic. Rose, that's one of your favorite black teas. I actually still have some. It's in a jar up top there. I actually took that to work with me a couple days ago. It's really good. It's on the pricier end, but it's worth it. Worth I mean, the color of this too as well is amazing. Good stuff. Okay. I'm going to show you how you actually brew with this. And these, I love leaving the lid off because it just, to watch the tea unfurl is just very pleasing. So, let's give a quick rinse of the tea. I believe they call this, I've heard it called like a squeeze pot because you squeeze the last drop out of it. So, I'm going to count this by breath. And this is actually a new pot. Fairly new anyway. This is the one I had originally, and this is more expensive for obvious reasons. This is a gorgeous piece. They actually lay seaweed, I believe, on there, and it gives it that textured look. And it's lighter than the other one as well. Amazing. Shiboradashi. Not shiboradashi. Shibo. Shiboradashi. Shiboradashi. Nani o shite imasu ka? 何をしていますか? It's one of the few phrases I can remember by heart. I believe it translates to, what is this? 何をしていますか? Sencha. Wanyama. Okay. You ready for this?
Yeah.
It's okay. Now with my Japanese teas, I usually brew from parameter the first time, and then I can't remember who recommended it to me, but somebody that actually drinks sencha quite a bit said the second brew is really short. You should only brew it for like 10-15 seconds. But one for the camera person. Heavy grass. Brine. These are like aroma cups too, which I really like about these. These are also handmade and painted. I believe I ordered the last two that were in stock, and I have not seen them on the site since, so these probably will, I don't know if they'll ever get more of them, so I'm very protective of these cups. A lot of the ones I get, they don't make anymore. I become slightly protective of them. I mean, if they broke, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but very nice grassy aroma to it. Light astringency, very light vegetal. Yeah, they're right, like a light to medium umami. Very sweet. Great mouthfeel, low astringency, no bitter at that temperature. Just coats your mouth. Fantastic sencha. The camera person does not like it. I do need the cup back though. We're just gotta build your palate. Eventually you will. Sencha is actually one of my favorites. I have had a couple bad senchas, but not many. And some of the bad ones might have been to my earlier just lack of knowledge about brewing Japanese teas. But now I believe I have a fairly good grasp on brewing parameters, especially when it comes to Japanese green teas. I've sampled at least 50 sencha and probably about 5 or 6 gyokuros. I tend not to get those because of the price point for the good stuff, and I'd rather not pay 3/4 of the price for something cheap that I'm not going to enjoy. I usually get the better stuff when it comes to that. Now, at some point there is price between quality differentiation that just is not good. Like, if it's 5% better and I'm paying $20 more, I'm probably not going to go for that one. I'm going to go for the lower one because it is very similar in a lower price point. Now, I mean, it's nice to try it once, but it's not something I would buy all the time. Second one, grass is falling off. Sweetness and umami seem maybe have increased. Slight nutty note. It has a little floral. Astringency is picked up, even on the shorter brew. Pretty good though. Rosie, you're not going to like this one because the astringency is stronger, and I know you have a thing against astringency. And
it's not as bad as it was.
I'm telling you, you'll develop a taste for green tea. You like your blacks because you a lot of people, and I actually recommend if you are coming from coffee, which a lot of people do. I don't recommend most coffees, because they're, especially pre-grounds, are all stale. Like if you're getting pre-ground coffee, it doesn't matter if it's vacuum packed or not, it's stale. And just the high bitter note, and you have to add a bunch to it. Yes, there is some flavor variations between coffee, but most coffee tastes very similar. Only the roasting, to me, changes it. And with teas, there's a million different flavors. I mean, you can have the same tea at one elevation taste completely different from high mountain, and just it's so much more versatile just from one sinensis plant. And I quick brewed this one as well. Sencha does tend to brew less, like Japanese green teas tend to it's a concentration of flavor. They want to concentrate it into a small, less brews, and have a very powerful, potent experience, whereas a lot of Chinese teas, they're not like that because of the pan frying. Now, there are some Japanese pan-fried teas, which I actually really like. Tazumi has a kamaraicha, and that is, which one was it? It won an award. It's highly aromatic. Just check it out if they have it. They ran out of stock, but I think they've got it back in. It's phenomenal. It's one of my favorite green teas. It reminds me a little bit of a Clouds and Mist, which is one of my favorite Chinese green teas. I love Clouds and Mist, especially organics. Well, if you have any questions about my teaware, where I got it, how to use it, I will be doing videos on how to use all this stuff and what merits each one has. Like these ones, these are great because they concentrate. Their taller cups concentrate the aroma up. So if you have a delicate tea, it's always best to brew in a taller vessel because it concentrates the aroma. Now, if you have a heavily smoky tea, obviously you don't need a concentration of aroma because it's going to come right out. Larger vessels are actually better than that. It's almost like wines and spirits, whereas some have a wider brim, some have a smaller brim, because you want to concentrate the flavor or you want to open up the flavor. These taller vessels and the Chinese variant aroma cups are used to. These you actually don't even drink out of. These you actually pour. You actually flip the cup, which I will actually be getting into. These concentrate the aroma very well. The ceramics, not so much as the yeasting, but the yeasting also will get seasoned over time too, so it will even further increase it. So I always recommend people get at least 2 sets. So one for like whites and everything else, to where you're not going to be seasoning it. But if you're an oolong fan, definitely get a yeasting, because it'll increase the aroma and the flavor over time, and you'll enjoy it that much more. It is worth the money to invest. Also, make sure you're getting double sealed tea canisters like the one I had, for especially all your high-end teas or teas that you know you're not going to go through quickly. So double seals. This is a cheap one. I got these off of Amazon. I mean, it does it, where it has the one cap and then the other one. This will keep your teas fresh longer. Some teas you do want to age, like pu'er or white tea, I actually keep in these canisters. These are also from Music City Tea, to slightly age them. And that is shiboradashi brewing and my teaware. Well, most of it anyways. Thank you for watching, and subscribe and like so I can do more of these videos. Thanks.